All right, Joshua, take
Hey,
it away.
thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. Appreciate your time. I know in the online medium, I started teaching online in late 1990s when I had my first baby. Well, I didn't have my first baby, but I was part of having a first child and learned a few things about, how this medium's a bit different from teaching in person. So I would like to spend this evening interacting with you on this topic of understanding what Agile means. Now, this is a little odd because you're already involved in Agile. Probably for how many years have you all been involved in Agile? Just type it into the chat. Some number, the number you think roughly. Yeah, I see 12 years. Ah, there we go. Bunches of them. 20 plus, 15, 10, lots of tens, 3. Okay, great. 25. Wow. Okay, before it was even called Agile. I love that. I love that. Interesting. M.W. Chung. That's a very interesting point, too. How many of you here believe Agile existed before the Agile Manifesto? Yeah, almost everybody. What year was Agile born? Could someone have been Agile in the 1800s? 1940s? Yeah, we didn't necessarily call it Agile, but the word Agile actually comes from the Latin, and the word's been around a long time. So what I want to try to do is kind of get us back to what the word means, okay? That's, I think, important. So let's get started doing that, all right? Does anyone have a favorite definition of the word Agile? How would you define the word Agile? Okay, so adaptive to change. You see that one. Survival. Okay. Being flexible. Emergent. So it's a mindset. Fast to rebound. Okay. Building the right things in the right way at the right speed. Okay. So I'm definitely seeing some sense of speed, fast, optimizing for learning early and improving. Great. Okay, so probably some of the more controversial parts are where I'm going to say that, like, I think if you take one word out of the definition and just think that that word is equal to Agile, you might not have a very deep understanding of Agile. In other words, is Agile equal to quick? Just being quick, is that Agile? If you're quick, are you Agile? Right. I'm seeing, yep. Okay, most people are getting the answer wrong. The answer is not no, the answer is hell no. Being quick is not equal to being agile. That is a huge misconception. Okay, so we need to make that super clear from the beginning. It is not the same. What about adaptive? If you're adaptive, are you agile? That's a tricky one.
Better than quick.
Do you also have to be quick and adaptive to be agile? Could we say, like, if Blockbuster adapted 10 years after Netflix kicked their butt, would we say that Blockbuster was agile? I don't think so, right? No. So we can be adaptive, but we better damn well be adaptive with some element of speed if we're going to call that agile, right? Okay, adaptive and just in time. So there's a sense of, you know, and feel free to disagree with me here, right? Because I'd love, you know, to learn from you tonight. This is a kind of a chance for us to come together and bring our understanding together. Adaptive is great. Being adaptive is fantastic, but it doesn't necessarily mean you adapted quickly. So we need the sense of being quick in there. What about being resourceful? What does that have to do with Agile? You have to be resourceful to be Agile? It's not a word we tend to use a lot, right? Resourceful. It's not, doesn't come up that much. All right, so let's do this. What I'm planning to do here at some point is to get into the dictionary. So I have to be honest with you in terms of my own process here. First of all, I love the dictionary. I just really enjoy understanding what words mean. But in order to make a presentation, I was finding that I needed to copy stuff out of the dictionary into some sort of either document or slides. And frankly, it was getting old. There's just too much to copy. So I decided to do something totally different. And that is, I'm just going to go to the web pages of the dictionary and we're going to talk about the words that are there. That way you can see everything I'm looking at, all right? So essentially we're going to look at the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which is definitely more of an American dictionary. But I will talk a little bit about the Oxford English Dictionary too, because it has some interesting stuff in it. Let's start with the Oxford English Dictionary. Okay, they have a definition of Agile, which is able to move quickly and easily. That's their primary definition. Able to move quickly and easily. Does anyone, do you like that or not like that? You could do a plus or a minus. You could type in if you want. You like that definition. Okay, start. Yeah, some pluses and minuses. Not enough change flavor. Okay, so it's not really reflecting how do we respond to change. It's just saying able to move quickly and easily. Maybe it's assuming even in the face of change that we can move quickly and easily. Seems like you could be clumsy and still be agile by that definition. Interesting. Able to move quickly and easily. Yeah, okay, I can see that. So I'm not seeing a lot of people being super happy with that definition. I myself am not that happy with it either. I think it's missing a key word. And that is a complicated word. So what I'd like to do, yeah, drum roll, is I'd like to go to the dictionary now. So can I share my screen, Alina? Is that cool? So here's this thing. You've probably heard me maybe talking about this or tweeting about this or YouTubing about this, but this is a definition that I like both of these definitions a lot. The first one is marked by a ready ability to move with quick, easy grace. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in this. Even though it's just one little sentence, there's a hell of a lot to unpack there. First of all, there's that ready ability. That means, of course, you have this ability. It's within you. It's something you can easily pull out. It's not like one day you got lucky and you were agile. It's a ready ability to to move or have this ability. And then we get into this quick, easy grace, okay? I really want you to think Venn diagram when you think about this definition. Because we've been saying it's not enough to be quick, and it's probably not enough to even be easy, and it's also probably not enough just to be graceful. You kind of need to have all three in place. Now, if you compare this first definition to the second definition, right? Some of you might prefer the second definition because it's a little more concrete. Maybe it's a little more work-centric because it's saying having a quick, resourceful, and adaptable character, right? Adaptable, there's that word again, which we talked about when some of you mentioned the need to respond to change, right? Being able to respond to change. So, however, do you notice one word is in both of them? Both of the definitions? Which word's in both of them?
Quick.
Quick. The word quick is in both of them. It's in every definition I respect when it comes to definitions of Agile. You've got to have the word quick in there. You can't only have the word quick, but it has to be part of the formula. And we're going to have to talk about quick because some people have a lot of scars. Let me go back to the chat for a minute. Just by a quick show of hands here, or just either show hands or do a plus symbol. Have you been scarred by being told to go quicker, faster? Have you ever been scarred by that? Like somebody just said, come on, faster, quicker, get it done. Yeah. There's a lot of that. A lot of scars, intellectual scars, emotional scars. People don't like, in fact, I know people that really, they don't like the word quick at all. They actually prefer other words besides quick. And I'm not talking a word like fast. They prefer words like sooner, right? Can I have this result sooner? Right, so only when they don't have success criteria, okay. Blaze is mentioning that. It's a tricky word, quick. It's a very tricky word, but it's an extremely important word. So I just want to acknowledge right off the bat here that this word is tough. Okay, someone sees Cesar saying without delay. And, you know, at what cost? Because if you go quick and you compromise on quality, right, that might be a problem. So, yeah, maybe compromising, any kind of compromise, whether it's quality, safety, integrity, all kinds of things could really provide a lot of damage. And this is where we get back to that Venn diagram. Because what we're talking about is quick, easy grace. And when it comes to that grace, we're going to have to really dig into what the heck that word means. Because when we get to the dictionary for that, you'll see it means a lot of different things. Sure, if the cost could be to your mental safety as well. But I want to make a really important distinction here with the word quick. What I would like to do is for you to distinguish the word quick, which I think is a good thing, from the bad kind of quick, which is more like hasty or just being hasty or rushing, right? So if you're being hasty or you're rushing, haste makes waste. Hurrying, rushing, those are the bad words. And what some of you might be saying when you were scarred by this, maybe it was because it was hasty, hurrying, rushing, those types of things. Whereas we could say quickness is a good attribute. That's how I like to distinguish the two. I want there to be a word that is good when it comes to speed. And then I want there to be words that are not about that, the opposite of that. How does that work for people? All right, so, yeah. I mean, what I'm asking you here is that you can type into the text chat. How does it work for you to have a word about that quick is a good thing, and that the other words are the bad things that you don't want to really experience so much? Hustling, rushing, things that lead to problems. Okay, expeditious. Yeah, and you can use your own words. When I go back to the dictionary and I see that word quick in there, I think it's a good word because it's such an integral part of being agile, quick. And it's not the same as being hasty or rushing or hurrying. It's effective. And it's effective because it has to go along with those other words: easy, graceful, resourceful, adaptable. Right. So why don't we do this? Can we go into breakout rooms now? I have a little assignment for you. Alina, are you going to help with the breakout rooms?
I'm doing the breakouts, Joshua, and we are ready.
Okay. So we're going to do a breakout.
4, 5?
Let's say we have 36 people here, so smaller groups are better to some extent, so maybe 6 or something.
4 people per room, 4 to 5 per room.
That sounds great, Volker. Yeah.
Ready to go when you are.
Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is this. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I'd like you to collectively write a haiku about hurrying. If you don't know what haiku is, go look it up. You got 5 minutes, and you're going to create a haiku about hurrying.
Nice.
Okay? See you in 5 minutes. Did you feel hurried? Yeah.
Not that much.
Okay, good. So that was an adequate. I think you got more time than 5 minutes, but if you felt like it was enough time, that's great.
Well, it created a pressure cooker, I mean, a useful time box to have creativity, but not impossible. And you had to let go of it coming out right, or
Yeah.
then I would have felt hurried. If I knew how it was supposed to be right, I was okay with it I was okay with it being stupid. I was just throwing shit out.
How many people had to do this to count their syllables? Nobody else remembers that from school?
Yeah, I count fingers.
We have to count. We do.
Oh, yeah.
I use my fingers, actually.
So there was some quality control to make sure your syllables were correct?
It did come in handy.
Okay.
That one.
So we have hurried, we got sad, customers even sadder, our product, okay. I like it. When requirements change, We can adapt quickly with grace like a smart fox. Okay. How many did we have here? Move with simple grace, unhurried, adaptable, user satisfied. We feel when we don't have enough time for something, but we're given a task, that's not quick, right? We're being forced into some box that is kind of impossible to deliver in, and being told to work faster or quicker. What I'm saying is, I don't think that's, first of all, that's terrible in most regards, but it tends to not to lead to the greatest results. So maybe that's a situation where we're being asked to hurry, and I don't want to beat that to death, right? Hurrying and hastiness tend to lead to a lot of waste, okay? So we do want quick, we just don't want it by itself. And that means it has to go with these other words. So let's keep diving into some of the other words. I'm gonna reshare my screen. Here's a new one. I didn't see this one. They tell me go faster. Hastily, I brisk, able, a sharp whirlwind. Alerted to nimble, astute, observant. Okay, this maybe needs a little bit of editing, but it's a haiku. All right, well, thank you. All right, now let's go deeper into some of these words, shall we? I'm gonna go back to the dictionary and look at the next definition. So let's look at quick. I think quick is not a hard word for us to understand. Fast in development or occurrence. So acting or capable of acting with speed, such as fast in development or occurrence, done or taking place with rapidity. Fast in understanding, thinking, or learning. Now here, this is a little bit hard. Mentally agile. Well, is agile equal to quick? No, we already said that. So fast in understanding, thinking, or learning. Fast in learning. And they're saying that's mentally agile. So there's more to quick than we thought here, that they equate this with being mentally agile. Reacting to stimuli with speed and keen sensitivity. Aroused and immediately and intensively. Marked by speed, readiness, or promptness of physical movement. I think that doesn't have to be physical movement. You could apply it to anything. Now listen to this one. Inclined to hastiness. Quick to criticize. There's that word hasty. So even in this definition, we're starting to see that quick can mean different things at different times, right? Quick to criticize. Maybe it would be more accurate to say, you know, that they were hasty or rushing to criticize. So it's hard even for me to say the dictionary proves what I'm saying is true, that quick is this. Was it starting to lag a little bit?
Yeah, you went out,
okay.
you froze.
All right, well, what I was about to do is start to show you I was going to show you the next word. So I'm going to skip over the word easy. Okay. I think you pretty much understand that word. It's not a big deal to understand what easy means. And we're going to go straight to the word grace. This is where things get interesting. Okay, so let's look at this word here, grace. All right. Now, like I said earlier, this word can mean a lot of things, but I think it's worth understanding what the word really means in the context of Agile. Okay, so it's not a virtue coming from God. We're not looking at that aspect of it. It's not approval or favor, mercy or pardon. it's down here in the third definition, okay? And really the most important one is 3C, ease and suppleness of movement or bearing. Ease and suppleness of movement or bearing. Danced with such grace. Now, the word ease is in there, and we already saw that there's quick, easy grace. So, you know, maybe that's sort of repetitive. So it's really the word supple that we care about. And they're being very specific here. They're saying, for supple, we mean entry 1, sense 2B for the word supple. Now, before we go look at that, because there's a really fascinating thing we're going to find there. Before we look at that, there's these other definitions: a charming or attractive trait or characteristic, a pleasing appearance or effect. So those are reasonable definitions as well for our purposes. But I think the real important one is 3C, ease and suppleness of movement, okay? Now, let's look at that word supple. Okay, there's easy. Supple. Supple's an adjective. Let's go to 2. What was it? Hold on. It said they want 2B, yes. So 2B, able to perform, no. Wait a minute. Here it is, 1B. Readily adaptable or responsive to new situations. You see that? I never knew that that's what supple meant. I never thought of supple in that way before. I think of supple as being, you know, kind of soft and it's bending and it's supple, you know, but I have not thought of it as readily adaptable or responsive to new situations. See, this is compliant often to the point of obsequiousness. That's bad supple, just like there's bad quick. But this is good. This brings in a couple of words that are really important to us, which is adaptable. And responsive. Responsive to change. Now do you see why I like this word grace? Because I think it's a really important word that we need to just understand. Because it incorporates a lot of what we want, right? Let's go back to the definition here. Marked by ready ability to move with quick, easy grace, having a quick, resourceful, and adaptable character. Well, maybe the word grace includes these words about being resourceful and adaptable, because it includes this concept of being supple. So that's kind of what I wanted to get at in terms of these definitions. I also want to point out that the Oxford definition of just being quick and easy isn't enough. You've got to have grace in there. Okay? So I guess right now, let's stop sharing. And let me just, before we move on, I want to just open up to any questions. So please type in any questions you might have into the chat, because we've kind of gone over the high level details of what this definition means. So Maria's asking about consciousness. How important is transparency in these contexts? Okay, so yes, you're being. So I guess I'd ask the question of Marie. Let me step back for 1 minute here, which is, I worry sometimes that we're kind of adding a lot of things to this word agile. If we want it to mean anything possibly good in life, right? You know, like agile equals love, or agile equals, it's tricky, right? Like they had a self-care track at Agile 2019, self-care. And there were people who were really bent out of shape about that. What does self-care have to do with Agile? Well, I think you can make an argument for why it's important to be Agile, that self-care is important to being Agile. But that relates to being able to uphold the definition. So I would ask in terms of consciousness, the dictionary will say about an agile mind, right? I've seen that as examples of the word agile in the dictionaries, an agile mind. Does that mean that your mind is capable of moving with quick, easy grace, of being quick, resourceful, and adaptable? That's how I would look at it, Marie, in terms of consciousness. That there's a level of suppleness in your brain. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, now.
More and more agile in our consciousness in the moment.
Yes, in the moment. Okay, what about Dirty? Dirty Joshi had said, how important is transparency in these contexts? So by that, I might need a little more detail there. What kind of transparency are we talking about?
About sharing vision or sharing the goals, or about keeping the teams or the people who we work with in a loop. That kind of transparency I'm talking about, because to be adaptable, people who execute the work needs to understand the work, and for that very reason, they should have a visibility to that specific scope or work stream.
Sure. I mean, I think if that's something that you find is important for them being agile, if they have no idea what the outcome is or the goal, it's hard for them to really be as creative as they could be, right? You know, withholding that information is probably not such a great idea. So I would definitely say that sounds great. What I'm not saying is that there's like a recipe book for being agile. Maybe there's some guidance we can give, general guidance for how to uphold these words. And we're going to get into that, because I think one of the big questions we may be asking is, great, we know the definition. How do you do it? Right? How do you uphold, how do you live those words in the definition? How do you actually live them? And I'm going to tell some stories to help us determine situations where we might say that they actually really did uphold those words or not. So let's start with one of the stories, okay? Did anyone here watch the Super Bowl in 2013? I know it was a long time ago, pre-COVID. Did you watch the Super Bowl in 2013? It was between the San Francisco 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens. Just to jog your memory.
So that's 7 BC, 7 before COVID.
Right. Very well said, yes. Yes, long time ago. So I was watching it with some friends. I don't watch a lot of football, but I tend to watch the Super Bowl because of part of it is I love the commercials. right? Companies spend millions and millions of dollars on commercials. They spend months and months preparing them, and they compete with each other to have the best commercials. So sometimes I laugh my head off during the commercials. They're wonderful. Okay, so you know what happened at that Super Bowl? It took place at the Superdome in New Orleans. A couple of minutes into the third quarter, after Beyonce did her halftime show, third quarter started. They were playing. The Ravens were dominating the 49ers. It was not a good situation if you're a 49ers fan. Suddenly, the lights went out in the Superdome. It's almost pitch black. There are a few lights on the field, but mostly it was completely dark. And it took them, first, people didn't know, was this a terrorist event that just happened? Thankfully, it wasn't. So as the awkward, eerie minutes ticked on, they started to figure out, we've had a power outage. And 22 minutes later, they got the lights back on. And a total of 34 minutes after they halted the game, they recommenced. So they're back to playing. And the Baltimore Ravens ended up beating the 49ers. But the next day, the advertising industry basically said that the Oreo cookie company won the Super Bowl. What? The Oreo cookie company? Well, here's what happened. It's 22 minutes of almost pure darkness. Millions of people are looking at this stadium that's all dark. And the team at Oreo, the advertising team at Oreo, put out a tweet. The tweet said, "Power out, no problem." And then they said this little phrase, and I'm gonna bring up the actual image for you so you can see it. They said, "You can still dunk in the dark." So this was the tweet. Power out, no problem. You can still dunk in the dark. And it went viral. It went viral very quickly, and they put it on Instagram, they put it on Facebook, everything just started going crazy for them. And it was to the point where they just knocked it out of the park. At the time, Oreo was almost 100 years old, or it was over 100 years old. It just turned 100. And they really wanted to remind America that Oreo is America's cookie. And they did it. They did it brilliantly. But let's talk about this now, right? I'd like you to, we're going to do another breakout room. We're going to do another breakout room where I'd like you to talk about this story. Was this an instance of agility or not? And if so, what was it about this that was so agile? Is 5 minutes enough for this? Yeah? All right, let's take 5 minutes. We'll break off into rooms. I'd like you to talk about this story. What is it about this being agile? Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so what did what could you summarize of your discussion? Did you feel this team was agile? And what else could you say about that?
And be happy to unmute yourself, watch that you don't talk too much over each other, and be graceful.
To our group, they were really agile. They were graceful. They took advantage very quickly of a clear opportunity. It like hit the spot of completely taking everybody's attention. It was brilliant. It was done obviously extremely quickly. Like they didn't get approvals. They didn't have time.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, wonderful.
They had
Say that.
they had the the personnel standing by ready to respond. I mean, just to kind of bang that together and much less come up with a phrase on the spot, right? Somebody had to come up with that copy.
Yes.
And unless it was part of an ongoing campaign that they reposted because, you know, it was done a month earlier and it just happened to fit. You know, might be interesting to check out their posts in the weeks leading up to that.
It was not. It was made on the fly. It was absolutely made on the fly, yes.
And the other observation I'll add, you know, that's good to know. The other observation is Oreo might have won the Super Bowl, but the power company may have saved the Super Bowl because they reacted in 24 minutes, I think you said. And, you know, that's also pretty impressive.
It is.
That is some readiness and adaptability to new circumstances right there.
Yes, it was 22 minutes. And apparently the piece of equipment that they ended up discovering later on that it was a piece of equipment that was faulty. And that piece of equipment was meant to be a defensive thing for dealing with the power grid. So it was meant to actually make things safer, and it actually caused a problem because it was faulty, but that sometimes happens. So this is fascinating to me because I heard about this a long time ago, right? I knew about this. And I just always thought, wow, you know, they're geniuses. This is incredible. We have to aspire to this. But to me, again, I don't think of Agile as being related to software. I don't think of it as being related to any particular thing. I think it's a word. And sure, an Agile advertising team, sure, absolutely. Of course, Agile is a word, right? We can go back hundreds of years and find cases of Agile. It's not this 2001 manifesto thing, no offense to that, but Agile is this word. So when I look at them, I say, what was it about them that was so incredible? And here's the thing that blew my mind, okay? I started researching what the heck happened. How did they do this? And this is something that I think you're going to enjoy. First of all, the majority of them were in a war room in Tribeca, New York. They were gathered together in a war room ready to do battle with social media. Okay? They were prepared. They'd been doing daily tweets since the 100th anniversary of the Oreo cookie, which had just happened. And they wanted to recommit to being America's cookie. They wanted to recommit to associating their brand with popular events like the Mars rover. They were tweeting on a daily basis, this team. So the people, by the way, this team went on to win awards for that Oreo cookie thing that pulled off, right? This dunk, it's okay to dunk in the dark. They won awards for it. The entire advertising industry was like bowing down to them. But when they interviewed the people, they said, listen, we've been working up to this for a couple of years. In that war room, they had copy editors and graphics people and all of the various folks you would need to pull this off. But there was also some safety present, right? Now, I don't want you to think of this as just people who work for Oreo, because in fact, it was different vendors, right? Oreo outsources some of its work to advertising companies, media companies. So you had a cross section of people in that war room. You had a few executives who were on the phone, ready to speak and collaborate at any minute, right? Like distributed is not necessarily bad if it's quick and graceful. So there were people ready to be collaborative, and there was actually someone who was from Oreo, the company, who did say, yeah, it's okay to go with this. Right? Because first of all, the first thing that happened was they didn't want to just put something funny out there if it was a terrorist event. So in the first few minutes of the darkness, they had to make sure, wait a minute, we could really hurt our brand if we're tweeting something funny and this is a terrorist event. So they waited for that, to pass. And then everyone started understanding this was a power failure. Okay, cool. And then they just started improvising. But so here's another thing. They were prepared with some tweets that were pre-prepared or almost pre-prepared. They were ready to tweet certain things about after Beyonce's halftime show. They were ready to tweet an image of the Oreo cookie where the filling was either going to be purple for the Ravens, the filling of the cookie would either be purple for the Ravens or gold for the 49ers. These were pre-prepared things that they'd already talked about. But this ability to move with quick, easy grace that they exhibited wasn't just a magical moment for them. It wasn't, so that goes back to the definition, right? A ready ability to move with quick, easy grace. In my ideal world, everyone here would walk out of this session today with these words memorized, seared into your brain. These two definitions, right? Now I have to demonstrate that. Having a ready ability to move with quick, easy grace, and having a quick, resourceful, and adaptable character. They were practiced. They were skillful. I don't think that it was just happenstance that they were so skilled that night. They were prepared. They were an excellent team, even though they were from different companies. They worked closely together. That's really important here, because we can think this is just impossible, right? So I'm just gonna, I said my connection was a little unstable, so I'm just gonna turn off my video. Questions, thoughts, comments about that story? What I want to gather is that I think it requires skill ultimately to move with quick, easy grace, to be quick, resourceful, and adaptable. A lot of times it involves skill.
And anytime you mention the word skill, there has to be a sense of practice. There has to be a sense of discipline. It must be, what's the right word? Almost, artisanal is not the right word. It has to be kind of like almost like an art in a way.
Craft.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could be agile without even thinking about it, in a certain situation where, but perhaps you've honed some things over the years that you weren't even aware of. I'm just not sure that you can just be agile on the job at the drop of a dime with very little practice. I think if you have this ready ability to move with quick, easy grace, then there's some element there of skill and practice.
Yeah, the word prepared really spoke to me, and it made me think about ballet dancers. Those are trained classical dancers that they have their core strength and they move with ease and grace.
Yes.
Quick, and this is their preparedness, the classical training, the rigors that make kids cry, and you give them away for this training. That's what makes them agile. Ability to move easy and with grace. You build the core strength, and then you're prepared.
Correct.
That really spoke to me.
There's a slightly different quality in well, I don't know if that quality is the right word, but attribute, characteristic to, for example, being a dancer on stage and you're already dancing, and with great skill and with that grace, you are able to perform movement that, for example, avoids collision with some other dancer that did a move that was not correct. And it's beautiful and it's graceful, and they save that performance because they do that whilst they are already performing. And that's different from doing a move, a long, very long jump with that core strength and that skill to catch a baby that's falling off out of a window. And that is in the moment, unprepared. And for me, this actually in our group, we mentioned, maybe this was a group that was all ready to pounce. They just reacted, and it's admirable that they reacted to new circumstances, and there's some agility in that. But we kind of dismissed it, saying, no, that's probably not it. How could that be? And it turns out that's what it was. But it would be way more impressive if the team that is tasked with advertising, protecting the brand, growing the brand, gets together, or a single team member knowing the intent with clarity, sees that, connects that, and they've got access to the account, a camera, Oreos, and click, Photoshop, post, right? That would be an order of magnitude more impressive and more agile, I think, than what happened, which is already pretty impressive. I'm not perhaps explaining that very clearly, but you know the difference I'm trying to make?
Yeah, I think what you're trying to get at is there's a certain sense of group improvisation happening. It's not an individual, right? Like a dancer is an individual. Like they have to be aware of each other. They have to be communicating and working in a practical way, but also going into the unknown at the same time.
I mean, I do want to say that I think it's a really good example of team agility. That is, this was a team of diverse people from different companies, all kind of focused on this Super Bowl event. And they were deeply into real-time marketing, right? Real-time marketing is a different beast. I'm not a marketing expert. I'm just, I looked into this. And obviously real-time marketing is you're basing on real-time events, and you've been practicing to be, if you're going to do real-time marketing. So they were in that boat, and they were trying to tell people this wasn't just magic. We'd been practicing.
The last thing you want to do in that situation is adhere to the plan.
Correct. That's right. They needed to be resourceful and adaptable. So they were quick, resourceful, and adaptable in this situation. Now, how much time do we have? I want to do a quick time check. Are we going till 8?
Yeah, 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just tell another quick story real fast here. There's a company that is very well known for making printers, and they produced a printer, a brand new printer. This was a new kind of printer. So they had to produce the driver for the printer, right? That's the software. It was about 2 million lines of code. And they did it. They shipped it. All was good. But then they produced a new model. The new model was a bit different from the other model. And they had a choice. Take the 2 million lines of code and adapt it so that it could work for both the last printer and the new printer. Or just copy the code completely, make a brand new, repository for it, and make some modifications to it and stick it in the new printer. They did the latter. They did that for the third printer and the fourth printer. They did it 18 times. They now had 36 million lines of driver code. I was teaching a class later on, after all this had happened. One of the people in my class said that when I work on a bug, fixing a defect, I get to work on 10 of the 18 code bases. I don't have to work on all 18. Okay? So, when I first heard about this many years ago, I tweeted something about that I thought the people that made this decision ought to have been, let out in handcuffs because it's a corporate crime. And basically, there's a giant number of people that had to maintain all this software now. It was bad in many, many, many ways. But just think about it let's forget the software development for a minute. Let's think from the product side. New printer out the door. Hey, it's fantastic. We got another one out the door, another one out the door, another one out the door. We're shipping new printers. Can you imagine? Maybe the executives got bonused for this. But eventually, can you not turn the lights off? Okay. So eventually, it led to a disaster. Now, was it quick? or maybe it was hasty. I'd prefer to say it was hasty. They chose the hasty path, right? They could have done the work to adapt the code to make it work for the second printer. They could have done that work. It wasn't that they were incapable of that kind of software design. Was it easy? Well, they chose the easy way, but ultimately that made things harder. Have you ever heard this expression, choose the hard way, life gets easy, choose the easy way, life gets harder? They chose the easy way, copy and paste. And clearly over the years, as the maintenance nightmare got worse, there was very little grace. So it's so easy to get this wrong. It's just so easy to slide off of the path and not be truly agile. It's the default, I would say. And we have to constantly look at our decisions and try to decide, are we really upholding these ideas of quickness and ease and grace? What I've been doing lately in the last several years is I've been bringing together a whole bunch of stories like the two I've told tonight. Because I believe that ultimately it's through stories that we learn. So basically, I am trying to help people learn what Agile really means, understand the definition of Agile, understand agility through stories. And so that's what I've been up to lately. If you're interested in reading some of these stories, you can email me. Joshua@industriallogic.com is fine. So that's just an ongoing piece of work because I'm committed to trying to help people understand agility through real world stories. And I have lots of them. Some of them are my own, some of them are from other people. But ultimately, I think that to me, I want stuff that sticks, sticky. And stories are the most sticky thing for me. So we didn't get deeply into a couple of words, adaptive and resourceful, but I think you know what those mean already. So the second definition in the Merriam-Webster dictionary of having a quick, resourceful, and adaptable character, I think should be making sense at this point. And that's really what I wanted you to come away with in this talk was, how do you keep these words uppermost in your mind when you're endeavoring to be agile, either on your own or with a team, or with a department, or with the whole organization? And it's hard, right? Any story I could tell about some person, you know, I have stories about Richard Branson, and there'll be people that say, wait a minute, Richard didn't pay his taxes or didn't do this or that. Yes, and in that instance, in that particular story, I'm pretty sure he was very agile. But I'm not saying that being agile means you're always agile. So it's a journey. And what I've been finding after so many years in this particular field is that these words mean more to me than anything else lately. It's so comforting too to be able to say, there's actually a definition of the word agile. We don't have to guess about it. We don't have to have 100 different answers for the definition from 100 different people. We can agree there's a word, it's an adjective, and there's a simple definition for it. Go to Merriam-Webster. See if this is what is helping you to be agile. And I know it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. We got into a little bit of how to be agile. We talked a little about preparedness of this team, the advertising team. They were prepared. They were practiced and skilled. I think there's other elements that are important too. I think safety is a hugely important thing. I think curiosity is hugely important. If you're not curious, I don't think you're going to be too resourceful. Safety, we know if there isn't an element of safety, you can do something rash or you can do something too quickly and hurt yourself. So safety is a factor too. The how of Agile is another difficult topic. But we have to know what before we work on how. What are we seeking? What are we shooting for no matter what we're doing? If we're endeavoring to be Agile, those words we've talked about tonight are key. And that's all I've got.
Awesome. Thank you, Joshua.
My pleasure. My pleasure.